Now, one of Clinton's toughest critics, Republican presidential candidate Carly Fiorina, and Jess McIntosh, a vice president of Emily's List, which works to elect Democratic women who take liberal stands on abortion and other issues. Ms. Fiorina, let's start with the security referral by 2 inspectors general to the FBI. Do you think that Hillary Clinton broke the law?
Well, it's clear she broke the rules. It's absolutely crystal clear she broke the rules. It's crystal clear that she has been engaged in a cover-up of lots of things. Benghazi, the fact that she broke the rules. I mean, how amazing that she's had this server in her basement all this time and decides to wipe it clean 2 years after she leaves the State Department and just before she gets ready to run for president. Of course she's engaged in a cover-up, and of course she's broken the rules.
Ms. McIntosh, here are 2 inspectors general, 2 independent government watchdogs who said in their referral to the FBI that there was classified information that was being transmitted, classified information at that time, not subsequently, that it's still classified, and that this is information that never should have been transmitted through private email.
You know, questions about the emails have been asked and answered for months. She said repeatedly that she's looking forward to testifying before the committee, and I know she intends to do that. I think that she has very smartly kept her presidential campaign focused on the lives of everyday Americans and what she wants to do for them as president. I think that's where voters want her to be.
Okay,
I think that's the kind of debate that they want to have with their candidates, and I think she's doing the right thing by keeping it there.
So, Ms. Fiorina, is this information about the private emails and possible mishandling of classified information, is that irrelevant?
It's completely relevant. It's right at the center of what voters care about, because you see, we know voters care about whether a potential president is trustworthy. And what voters are discovering day after day, drip by drip, is that Hillary Clinton is not trustworthy. It is the heart of the matter. She is not trustworthy. She has engaged in cover-ups, and she has not been truthful. And every day that goes by, we learn that over and over and over. And no amount of spin and no amount of talking points is going to change that reality.
Ms. McIntosh, the fact is that voters in the polls are saying by substantial numbers they don't find Hillary Clinton honest and trustworthy.
And of course she's leading all of her Republican rivals in the polls, because I think voters are...
No, that's not, wait, that's not true anymore. In fact, she's trailing in 3 key swing states in a poll this week.
In one that appeared to be an outlier. There are some discrepancies with how many Republicans they sampled, but the point is, consistently, voters have been really excited about her message to make the economy work a little bit better for American families.
Forgive me, and I really do want to keep this fair and balanced, but you're not answering my question. What about the honest and trustworthiness?
Yeah, I think that she has a long campaign to talk to voters about who she is, about why she's doing what she's doing, about what she wants to do for them. I think that we'll see those numbers change. I think that we're seeing voters still very interested in what she's going to do for them as president, despite those numbers. So there's a little bit of strangeness there. But I think that she's going to keep this conversation going, and it's going quite well for her so far.
Okay, let's turn to the undercover videos that anti-abortion activists have released in the last couple of weeks. Here's what 2 Planned Parenthood officials said in these undercover videos about altering abortions in order to be able to retrieve fetal tissue. Here it is.
We've been very good at getting parts on liver because we know that so I'm not going to crush that part. I'm going to basically crush below, I'm going to crush above, and I'm going to see when I get it intact.
I'll mention this to Ian in terms of how he feels about using a less crunchy technique to get more whole specimens.
Ms. Fiorina, less crunchy technique, crushing above and below specific organs to be used for fetal research. What's wrong with that?
Oh my gosh, by the way, this has nothing to do with whether you're pro-choice or pro-life. This has to do with the moral foundation of our nation. If a woman was sitting outside of Planned Parenthood in, for example, her OBGYN's office looking at this ultrasound at precisely the same point in her pregnancy, her doctor would be saying to her, look at your baby. Look at its heartbeat. Look at its fingers and toes. This is an abomination. that Planned Parenthood has lobbied against a woman's opportunity to look at an ultrasound before she makes an incredibly difficult choice to end the unborn life within her, and yet they are using that same technology to harvest body parts, which they claim are not a life, in order to sell them to save another life. It is unbelievably hypocritical, and I frankly find it astounding that anyone can defend it.
Well, Ms. McIntosh, let me ask you about one specific aspect of this, because the law on this is clear, and let's put it up on the screen. No alteration of the timing, method, or procedures used to terminate the pregnancy was made solely for the purposes of obtaining the tissue. That is the law. But here's what one of the Planned Parenthood officials says.
If our usual technique is suction at 10 to 12 weeks, and we switch to using an iPass or something with less suction in order to increase the odds that will come out as an intact specimen, then we're kind of violating the protocol that says to the patient, we're not doing anything different in our care of you.
But then, Ms. McIntosh, that same woman says that she's going to ask the surgeon at this Planned Parenthood facility about violating the protocol about switching procedures in order to get better parts. I mean, isn't that a direct violation of the federal law?
I mean, after hours of talking to this staffer in this dishonestly edited video, they got her to say that she would talk to a doctor. That's not an admission of a crime. Listening to this language is ugly and uncomfortable, and I completely understand that. The whole concept of organ donation is a really difficult thing to think about. But the families that benefit from this life-saving medical research are immensely grateful for the kindness that patients do when they donate these things. We're talking about people with loved ones with Alzheimer's, with Parkinson's. This exact kind of tissue donation was used to make the rabies vaccine, the chickenpox vaccine, the polio vaccine. This directly relates to Americans' health. This is life-saving medical research.
Let me bring in Ms. Fiorina, because that certainly is one of the points that defenders of this procedure make. Fetal research has been useful in testing drugs, has been useful in finding cures for diseases. The National Institutes of Health spent $76 million on research on fetal tissue. So, you know, you may not like the way it's happening, but don't these tissues, don't these organs go for a good cause?
Well, let's just start with her comment about a heavily edited video. I mean, I find it fascinating that Planned Parenthood, Emily's List, and all the rest of the pro-abortion lobby are now suddenly so concerned about a heavily edited video. I don't recall them ever being concerned about a heavily edited video of, say, Mitt Romney at a fundraiser. I don't remember them being concerned about Edward Snowden. We've had a lot of things where information has come out that we needed to see. So instead of going after the people who have put out this video, information we clearly need to see, let's talk about the issue here. Of course they're trying to change the subject. Of course they're trying to say this is life-saving research. I just find it amazing that this group of pro-abortion lobbyists continue to say that they are protecting women's health. Really? Late-term abortion is demonstrably bad for women's health. They continue to lobby against parental notification. Really? It's protecting a teenager's health, that she can go to a tanning salon or get a tattoo with her mother's permission, but she can get an abortion without her mother's permission. This is not about someone else's health. This is about a woman's health, a woman's opportunity to have all the choices in front of her, and it is about a life that she is bearing. So let's talk about, once again, I'm pro-life, as you know, Chris, but there are plenty of pro-choice women who are horrified by this, as they should be. And by the way, after hours, honestly, the fact that these officials can sit here swilling their wine, drinking their salad, laughing over getting a Lamborghini, and talking about specimens and fetal tissue, I just find it horrifying. And the majority of Americans do as well.
Let me pick up, because there are two issues here, specifically, whether or not you are in favor or not of abortion, Ms. McIntosh. One is the altering of a procedure, and in fact, the procedure almost has to be altered in order to get the fetal body parts. There's also the question of price, because selling fetal tissue for profit. And here is undercover video of a Planned Parenthood official seeming to be haggling over price. Here she is.
What would make you happy? What would work for you?
Well, you know, in negotiations, the person who throws out the figure first is at a loss, right? So this is in the ballpark, and that's fine. If it's still low, then we can talk about it.
You would.
I want to land with even more.
I mean, you can't deny what you're seeing there, Ms. McIntosh. She's haggling over the price.
I saw an incredibly tasteless joke.
That's
Absolutely. But
Wait,
tasteless joke is...
wait. It was
Yes.
more than just a joke. She also says, when they're talking about what the price is,
That's
she
right.
says, well, the first person to offer
Sure.
always ends up at the low end. I mean, the law is they're allowed to recover cost.
Right.
Cost is cost. I mean,
Right.
if it's $100, it's $100. But she's talking about something more than cost.
And she had also said in the same video that it had been so long since she had had a conversation where somebody wanted to discuss compensation that she didn't even know what cost was. So I think talking about the deceptively edited videos does matter when they take out the 10 times where the Planned Parenthood staffer very clearly says they wouldn't be able to sell this because it violates the law and they're not going to do that.
I think that was the other staffer. I don't
That
think
was
it was
the other
this one.
staffer, correct, yes. I think that Republicans maybe risk alienating folks that they're not thinking about alienating when they talk about the abortion debate the way Ms. Fiorina does. I think it's important to remember that 65% of the women who get abortions are moms already. And the decision when to have a child is the most important economic one that most American families will ever face. I don't believe that politicians should be involved in making that choice for them. And I do think that there are a lot
for
of women
heaven's sakes,
on
the
both
left
sides of the aisle that
politicians
agree
are
with
involved
me.
in this debate all the time. And the politicians are involved in this debate all the time. Emily's List, a pro-abortion lobby organization, is involved in politics every single day. And consistently, Emily's List is lobbying for pro-abortion candidates. There is simply no justification anymore for federal funding of Planned Parenthood.
I think that
the
it's
only
wait,
reason Planned Parenthood is standing up and asking to continue to be federally funded.
This will work better if you let me ask the question, because this is the last thing we're going to have time to talk about, and that is the issue of federal funding. Because, Ms. Fiorina, you have called for an end to federal funding. It's about $500 million a year of federal funds that goes to Planned Parenthood. And I want to put up these statistics. It is, Planned Parenthood, the nation's single largest provider of abortions, 327,000 in 2013. But it also performed 487,000 breast exams and 704,000 HIV tests. Hillary Clinton says it's a matter of women's health.
I'm hoping that this situation will not further undermine the very important services that Planned Parenthood provides.
Let me pick up on that with you, Ms. Fiorina. I mean, doesn't Planned Parenthood do a lot of things? And if you defund them, aren't you going to lose things like breast exams and pap smears and HIV tests?
Well, gee, I thought Obamacare was supposed to take care of all that. I am so tired of the canard about women's health. There are plenty of places where women can achieve and have these services. If Planned Parenthood is so concerned about women's health, why don't they accept, for example, federal funding of pregnancy centers, one next door to every single Planned Parenthood clinic, so that women actually can look at an ultrasound before they choose to have an abortion, or so that they can have options presented to them if they choose to bring the life into the world. But no, Planned Parenthood doesn't want that. Look, this isn't about women's health. This is about Planned Parenthood wanting to preserve their political power so that they can lobby consistently on behalf of pro-abortion Democrats. Why should they be given federal funding? Why should they get federal funding so they can continue to lobby for certain candidates, as Emily's List does every single day?
Ms. Fiorina, Ms. McIntosh, we've just flat run out of time. I want to thank you both. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks.
Up next, Republican presidential candidate